I never thought a single mistake in my marriage could lead to a punishment that would change my life so drastically. My name is John. I'm 34 years old, and for most of my life, I believed I had everything figured out: steady job, a nice home, and a wife who had stood by me for years. But what I didn't realize was that love can transform into something sharper when betrayal or disappointment enters the picture. And when my wife, Clara, decided to teach me a lesson, she didn't choose anger or silence. Instead, she chose revenge, her own creative version of it. The strange part? It didn't start like a punishment at all. It began almost playfully, with Clara suggesting that I should see how the other side lives. She had always been confident, polished, and full of energy, someone who wore elegance like a second skin. And me? I was comfortable, casual, and often careless. Maybe too careless, because that's what sparked the tension between us. I didn't take her seriously, not when she asked me to change certain habits, not when she told me I wasn't putting effort into our relationship, and certainly not when she warned me that she wouldn't tolerate being ignored anymore. So when she placed a pair of shiny black heels in front of me one evening, I laughed. "Very funny," I said, thinking it was a joke, some silly prank. But she didn't laugh. Her eyes were calm, her smile unsettling. "No, John," she said softly. "You're going to wear them tonight." I thought she was bluffing, yet something in her expression told me she wasn't. It wasn't a request, it was a decision. I hesitated, but Clara was persuasive in ways I couldn't resist. She told me it was just a small act, a way for me to understand what it means to put in effort. She said, "You expect me to wear makeup, dresses, and heels for you. But have you ever wondered how much work that takes? How much patience? How much strength?" Her words stung, not because they were harsh, but because they were true. I had taken her efforts for granted. And so, against my pride, I slipped my feet into the heels. The fit was awkward, my balance shaky, and Clara's smirk told me she had just gotten started. The second step of her plan came with lipstick. She held the tube in her hand like a gavel, the final seal on her judgment. "If you're going to wear the heels, you might as well complete the look," she teased. But again, her tone was laced with authority. She applied the deep red color onto my lips with precision, her fingers steady as if she had practiced this moment in her mind long before it happened. When she was done, she tilted my chin up and whispered, "Now you look like someone who might finally listen." I wanted to argue. I wanted to wipe the lipstick off and kick off the heels. But I couldn't. Not because she physically stopped me, but because deep inside, I felt the weight of her disappointment. I had let things slip between us, and she had found a way to make sure I understood. That night was the beginning of something I didn't expect. Clara didn't stop at just lipstick and heels. She introduced rules, challenges, and expectations. What I thought would be a one-time joke stretched into days and then weeks. Every morning, she reminded me of her control with a new demand: a skirt here, a little blush there, soft curls brushed into my hair by her own hand. Each step chipped away at the man I thought I was, reshaping me into someone who was forced to see life from an entirely different angle. But here's the part that kept me awake at night. Clara wasn't doing this out of cruelty. No, her revenge had a purpose. She wanted me to feel what she had felt all along: the pressure, the effort, the constant performance of keeping up appearances. And once I stepped into her world, I realized there was no easy way back. What started as a punishment became a mirror, reflecting every flaw I had ignored in myself. And though I resisted, a part of me knew that Clara had won. Because the moment I saw myself in the mirror with heels clicking beneath me and lipstick coloring my lips, I realized her lesson was permanent. And the scariest part? She wasn't finished yet. The next morning, I thought Clara's punishment would fade away with the night, like a passing storm. But she was waiting for me in the kitchen, a cup of coffee in one hand and a shopping bag in the other. The way she set it on the table told me everything. This was not over. "Sit down," she said, her tone casual but firm. "I've been thinking. If you're going to learn properly, we need structure. Discipline." The word discipline rang in my ears. I had always associated it with order, with rules I barely followed. But hearing it from Clara, paired with the glint in her eyes, I realized it had a new meaning. She pulled items from the bag one by one. A silky blouse in pale pink, a knee-length skirt with a soft floral pattern, a set of brushes, and foundation. I stared at the pile growing in front of me, speechless. "You can't just wear heels and lipstick without the rest," she explained, as though this were the most logical thing in the world. "That would be half a lesson. And you don't do anything halfway, do you, John?" Her voice carried that sting of sarcasm, reminding me of all the times I had dismissed her needs. Now, she was turning those words back on me, weaving them into her plan. "Clara," I began, trying to sound calm, "don't you think this is too much?" She looked up sharply. "Too much? John, do you know how many times I've told you I felt invisible? That my effort didn't matter? That I didn't matter? And you brushed me off. So no, this isn't too much. This is balance." There was no anger in her tone, just determination. That was what unsettled me the most. She wasn't doing this in a fit of rage. She was deliberate, careful, and absolutely unshakable. I sighed, my pride already cracking under her gaze. She slid the blouse across the table. "Put it on." I obeyed. The fabric felt alien against my skin, soft where I was used to rough cotton shirts. It clung in ways that reminded me of Clara's elegance, and I hated how it made me conscious of every movement. Next came the skirt. I hesitated longer this time, but Clara folded her arms. "You wanted me to notice you. Well, I am. Every second. So don't waste this chance." Her words cut deeper than I expected, and so I slipped the skirt on, awkwardly adjusting it at my waist. Clara's smile was small but victorious. "Better," she said softly. "Now sit." "We're not finished." The brushes were next. Clara moved around the table, her presence both comforting and intimidating. She dabbed foundation onto my face, blending it with practiced ease. Each touch was a reminder of how many mornings she had done this herself without a single word of appreciation from me. When she finished, she handed me a mirror. I stared at the reflection. A man's features softened, reshaped by makeup, framed by delicate clothing. The heels and lipstick from last night had been unsettling, but this was transformation. "You look almost presentable," Clara teased. But then her tone dropped, serious again. "This isn't a game, John. This is your punishment, and you'll follow it until I say otherwise." I swallowed hard. 1,000 thoughts rushed through me: anger, humiliation, confusion, but also guilt. Because beneath all my resistance, I knew I deserved some of this. I had failed Clara too many times, taken too much for granted. The days that followed only deepened the lesson. Clara created a schedule. Mornings began with outfits. She laid out sometimes skirts, sometimes dresses. Afternoons were for chores I had neglected, but now done in full presentation, as she called it. Evenings were the hardest. She'd sit me in front of the mirror and critique everything: the way I walked, the way I held myself, even the way I smiled. "Confidence," she'd remind me. "If I have to carry it every day, so will you." I stumbled, faltered, and tried to push back. But Clara never wavered. Each protest I made was countered with quiet logic and piercing honesty. And slowly, I began to realize this wasn't about clothes or makeup at all. It was about perspective. One night, after a particularly long day of practice, I asked her, "Clara, how long do you expect me to keep this up?" She tilted her head, her eyes narrowing just slightly. "Until you finally understand me. Until you stop treating my effort as invisible. And maybe," she paused, a sly smile forming, "maybe forever." The word forever hit me like a stone. I wanted to laugh it off, but deep down, I couldn't. Because the way Clara said it didn't sound like an exaggeration. It sounded like a promise. The morning after Clara spoke that word forever, I couldn't shake it from my mind. It echoed through every thought, every glance in the mirror, every step I took in the heels she had chosen for me. I wanted to believe it was just her way of scaring me, an exaggeration to keep me obedient. But there was a certainty in her tone that made my chest tighten. Clara noticed my unease, of course. She noticed everything now. At breakfast, she placed a plate in front of me, along with a carefully folded dress, soft lavender, delicate lace at the collar. She didn't say anything at first, just sipped her tea, eyes steady on me. Finally, I broke the silence. Clara, isn't this going too far? I've worn the clothes, the makeup. I've done everything you asked. She set her cup down slowly.
No, John.
You've only followed instructions. There's a difference between obeying and learning, and I need you to learn. Her words sank into me like lead. Before I could argue, she added, get dressed. Then we'll talk. I obeyed, slipping into the lavender dress. It was lighter than the others she had given me, flowing as I moved, brushing against my knees in a way that made me hyper-aware of every step. When I returned, Clara looked me over with a sharp eye. Better, she murmured. Then, without warning, she handed me a book. Balance this on your head. Walk across the room. I blinked at her. You can't be serious. Her smile was cool. Do I look like I'm joking? And so I did as told, stumbling more than once, catching the book before it hit the ground. Clara chuckled softly, shaking her head. Posture, John.
Grace.
You've spent years slouching, ignoring the impression you leave. That ends now. Each task that day felt designed to chip away at my resistance. She corrected my walk, my gestures, even my voice. Lower your tone.
Softer.
No one wants to hear a bark all the time, she said when I raised my voice in frustration. I hated how powerless I felt. And yet, beneath the irritation, there was another feeling: guilt. Because with every critique, Clara mirrored the very complaints she had once made about me. My careless posture at dinner, my blunt words, the way I never noticed how hard she worked to appear composed. Now, she was holding up a mirror I couldn't escape. By evening, Clara had set another challenge. She pulled out a small clutch bag and placed it in my hands. We're going for a walk, she said. Panic shot through me. Outside? Like this. Her expression didn't waver. You said you've done everything I asked. Prove it. My heart raced, but there was no choice. The quiet street felt louder than ever as my heels clicked against the pavement. Every shadow felt like eyes watching, judging. Clara walked beside me, calm and unbothered, as if she were taking a casual evening stroll. Hold your head high, she whispered. If you look ashamed, people will see it. If you act confident, they'll believe it. The walk was short, but to me, it felt endless. When we returned, I collapsed into a chair, exhausted. Clara leaned over me, brushing a strand of hair from my forehead. You did well, she said softly. But don't forget, this isn't just play. This is your new reality. Her words made my stomach twist. New reality. I wanted to believe she was bluffing, that eventually she'd tire of this game. But every action, every word, every carefully planned step told me otherwise. And deep down, a chilling thought began to take root. What if Clara wasn't punishing me temporarily? What if she really meant to keep me in this role, permanently? The next few days passed in a blur of dresses, lessons, and subtle corrections. Every morning, Clara had something new: waiting skirts neatly folded on the bed, makeup brushes lined up like soldiers, jewelry arranged with precision. I stopped asking how long it would last. I already knew the answer. As long as she wanted. But it wasn't until the following weekend that Clara raised the stakes. I woke up to the sound of hangers clinking in the closet. Clara was already dressed in a sleek navy outfit, her hair perfectly styled, her makeup flawless. She looked radiant, confident, and fully in control. When I sat up, she turned to me with a smile that made my stomach knot.
Get ready, she said.
I rubbed my eyes. Ready? For what? She held up a dress I had never seen before, a pale blue one with a fitted bodice and flowing skirt. We're going out. My heart dropped. Out? Clara, She cut me off with a raised eyebrow. You already managed to walk around the block. This will be no different. Besides, it's time you saw how convincing you've become.
Her words stunned me. Convincing?
The thought made my throat dry. I opened my mouth to protest, but the look in her eyes silenced me. There was no arguing with Clara once she made up her mind. I dressed slowly, each step of the process heavy with dread. The blue dress slid over my skin, fitting almost too perfectly. Clara guided me through makeup, once more foundation, eyeliner, blush, and of course, lipstick. The shade she chose this time was softer, more natural, as if she wanted me to blend in, not stand out. When I finally looked in the mirror, I hardly recognized myself. The reflection staring back wasn't just a man in disguise. It was someone new, someone Clara had shaped. And I couldn't decide which terrified me more, the punishment itself, or how natural it was beginning to look. Perfect, Clara said with satisfaction. She placed a small purse in my hand. Now smile. I tried, though it felt forced. Clara leaned close, her voice low. Remember, if you walk with confidence, no one will question you.
Hold your head high, John.
Or should I say, Joanna? The name hit me like a shock. Joanna. She said it so casually, as if it had always belonged to me. We left the house together, and my heart pounded with every step. The world outside felt harsher, brighter, impossible to hide from. We weren't just going for a walk this time. Clara led me to a cafe. The bell above the door chimed as we entered. I froze, but Clara's hand on my back urged me forward. She ordered drinks with ease while I sat at a small table, trying not to tremble. People around us barely looked up. To them, I was just another person in a dress sipping coffee. The realization made my head spin. Was I really passing? Or were they simply too polite to stare? Clara leaned across the table, her eyes locked on mine.
See?
No one's laughing. No one's pointing. The only person making a scene is you, in your own head. If I can do this every day for years, so can you. Her words weren't cruel. They were steady, confident, unyielding. And in that moment, I saw the depth of her plan. This wasn't just punishment anymore, it was training. Clara wasn't content with teaching me humility inside our home. She wanted me to live it, breathe it, carry it into the world. By the time we returned home, my nerves were shredded, but Clara looked pleased. She cupped my face gently, her lipstick-stained smile soft but firm. "This is only the beginning, Joanna," she whispered. And hearing her call me by that name again, I felt the walls of my old life closing in. The cafe outing should have been the worst of it. I told myself that when we got home, Clara would ease up, satisfied with my humiliation. But Clara never eased up. If anything, she pressed harder. The next morning, I found a new wardrobe waiting for me, not just a dress or two, but several outfits neatly hung in the closet where my old clothes once were. My shirts, jeans, and sneakers were gone. In their place, skirts, blouses, stockings, heels. A rainbow of femininity staring back at me. I spun around, panicked. "Clara, where are my clothes?" She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, calm as ever. "Donated. You won't be needing them." Her voice carried no room for negotiation. My stomach churned. This wasn't just punishment anymore, this was replacement. My old identity, stripped away piece by piece. Each day that followed, Clara expanded the lessons. She corrected the way I sat, legs together, back straight. She adjusted the way I walked, heels clicking, hips swaying. She even made me practice my voice, softening my tone, smoothing the edges until it sounded less like John and more like Joanna.
The name haunted me.
She used it constantly now, as if my real one had been erased. "Joanna, pass me the salt. Joanna, fix your lipstick. Joanna, look in the mirror and tell me who you are." At first, I resisted. I muttered, stumbled, sometimes outright refused. But Clara never got angry. That was the worst part, her patience. Her smile that said she could wait forever for me to comply. And slowly, I found myself obeying. Not because I wanted to, but because fighting her felt hopeless. Then came the evening that changed everything. Clara returned home carrying a small box tied with ribbon. She placed it in front of me, her eyes gleaming. "Open it." Inside lay a delicate silver necklace with a charm that read Joanna in elegant script. My breath caught. "I had it made for you," she said softly, almost tenderly. "It's time the world saw you, for who you really are." I shook my head. "Clara, please, this has gone too far." But she stepped closer, lifted the necklace, and clasped it around my throat. Her fingers lingered at the back of my neck, firm but gentle. "Too far," she whispered.
No, John.
"This is only the beginning." I looked in the mirror. The charm glimmered against my collarbone, mocking me. And yet something inside me stirred, something I didn't want to admit. Clara kissed my cheek, her lipstick leaving a faint mark. "Wear it proudly, Joanna. Because tomorrow, you'll be meeting someone very important." My heart lurched. Meeting someone?
Who? Why?
But Clara only smiled, her silence more terrifying than any threat. That night, as I lay awake with the necklace cold against my skin, I realized there was no going back. Clara wasn't just changing my clothes, my walk, my voice. She was changing me, and tomorrow, the outside world would see it. The morning came too quickly. I hadn't slept a wink, my mind spinning with dread. The necklace around my neck felt heavier than any chain. Clara had left my fate hanging in the air with just one chilling promise. "Tomorrow, you'll be meeting someone very important." Important. Those words echoed like a curse. Who could she mean? A friend? A family member? A colleague? Each possibility was worse than the last. When Clara entered the bedroom, she carried herself like a queen. She set a pale pink dress on the bed, a silky, knee-length piece with lace trimming that left no doubt about its femininity. Matching heels sat neatly on the floor, along with pearl earrings and a light cardigan. "Get dressed," she ordered. I swallowed hard. "Clara, please, not today." "I can't. Whoever it is, you can't make me." She silenced me with a finger pressed to my lips. "You will. And you'll thank me later." Her calmness was suffocating. She wasn't angry. She wasn't gloating. She was utterly certain. My protests meant nothing. I slipped into the dress with trembling hands. The fabric clung to me like it belonged, hugging my body in ways I tried not to notice. Clara guided me to the vanity, applying my makeup with deliberate precision. Foundation, blush, mascara, lipstick the same deep red she had worn that first night. When she was finished, I hardly recognized the person staring back at me. The necklace glimmered above the pink fabric, the charm spelling out Joanna in delicate script. Clara tilted my chin upward. "Perfect," she whispered. "You're ready." My stomach lurched as she led me out the door and into the car. The drive was silent, but the tension roared in my ears. I clutched my purse. Yes, she had given me a purse, as if it could shield me from whatever was coming. We pulled up in front of a familiar house. My chest tightened. It was her sister's. "No, Clara, no," I begged, my voice cracking. "You can't show me to her. She'll never look at me the same way. Please, anything but this." Clara only smiled, that same patient, merciless smile. "You wanted to keep this between us. But Joanna, secrets are heavy. And I don't want you carrying this one alone anymore." She opened the door, and the warm sunlight spilled inside. "Come along, darling. It's time for your sister-in-law to meet the real you." My legs refused to move, but Clara's hand gripped mine, steady and unyielding. Step by step, the heels clicked against the pavement, betraying me with every sound. When the door opened and her sister stood there, eyes widening, lips parting, I thought I might collapse. But Clara's voice, smooth and confident, cut through the silence. "Samantha, I'd like you to meet my partner, Joanna." The world tilted. My punishment wasn't private anymore. Clara had made sure of it. For a frozen heartbeat, Samantha just stared at me. Her mouth twitched, as though she couldn't quite decide whether to laugh or gasp. I wanted the ground to open and swallow me whole. I tried to avert my gaze, but Clara tightened her grip on my hand. "Don't you dare hide," she whispered firmly, her smile unbroken. "Joanna, stand tall." "Joanna?" Samantha finally echoed, her voice caught between disbelief and curiosity. "Clara, what's going on here? Who is this?" I opened my mouth, but no words came out, only a squeak of panic. Clara's eyes shone with triumph as she gently stroked my arm. "This," she announced, "is Joanna. The Joanna I've been shaping, slowly, carefully." She's been a little reluctant to embrace her truth, but I thought it was time my sister met her. Samantha blinked, then let out a small, stunned laugh. Wait, you're saying this is John? Her words hit me like a slap. My knees wobbled, and the heels felt unbearably high. Please, Sam, I whispered hoarsely. This isn't. Clara cut me off before I could finish. It is.
And you need to accept it.
Joanna belongs in dresses, heels, and lipstick. It's what suits her best. The room was spinning. Samantha's expression shifted from shock to fascination. She circled me slowly, her eyes scanning the dress, the makeup, the heels. Oh my God, she murmured, shaking her head. I can't believe it, but at the same time, it's almost convincing. Her words burned. Convincing. As though this wasn't some nightmare punishment, but a role I had willingly stepped into. Why are you doing this? I stammered, turning desperately to Clara. Clara cupped my cheek tenderly, but her grip was iron. Because you needed it. You lied. You disrespected me. You thought you could get away with things. But Joanna can't lie. Joanna can't disrespect. Joanna has to obey. Her words sliced through me, leaving me trembling. Samantha folded her arms, her lips curving into a sly smile. I have to admit, Clara, I didn't expect this when you said you were teaching him a lesson. But I can't deny it's entertaining. Clara's grin widened. It's more than entertaining. It's transformative. And I want you to help me. My heart lurched. Help. I choked out, my voice thin with dread. Samantha raised an eyebrow. What exactly do you have in mind? Clara turned to her, eyes gleaming. Joanna has been so shy, so resistant. But I think with another woman encouraging her, guiding her, maybe she'll bloom even faster. After all, she can't hide forever. I shook my head frantically, my earrings swaying. No, Clara, please don't drag her into this, don't. But Clara only leaned closer, whispering into my ear with chilling sweetness. It's too late, darling. You're not just mine anymore. You're everyone's Joanna now. Samantha's laughter filled the room, light and mocking. And in that moment I knew. My punishment wasn't only permanent, it was growing, spreading, pulling more people into the web Clara had spun around me. Samantha's laugh still echoed in my ears when she leaned casually against the wall, tilting her head as though she were studying a painting. You know, Clara, I almost don't believe it. If you hadn't told me, I'd think this was just some nervous girl you dressed up too quickly for a party. Her words sent another wave of heat rushing into my cheeks. Nervous girl. Was that really how I looked? Clara smirked. Then why don't we test it? My stomach dropped. Clara, please. She ignored me, walking gracefully to her dresser and pulling out a tube of lipstick, deep crimson. She handed it to Samantha with a flourish.
Here.
See for yourself. Let Joanna show you how natural this all is. Samantha twirled the lipstick in her hand, her eyes sparkling with amusement. Oh, this is too good. She stepped toward me slowly, deliberately, savoring my panic. All right then, Joanna, why don't you reapply? Right here. Right in front of me. My breath caught. I don't. Clara's voice sliced through my stammering. Do it. Show her how well you've learned. The command left no room for escape. My trembling fingers reached for the tube Samantha held out. It felt heavy, almost threatening in my hand. I fumbled with the cap, my reflection staring back at me from the vanity mirror. My face was already painted, but Clara's sharp gaze bore into me, and Samantha's expectant grin left me no choice. Slowly, carefully, I raised the lipstick to my mouth. Every stroke felt like surrender. The red deepened, bold and bright under the light, sealing me into the role Clara had forced upon me. Samantha clapped her hands softly, amused. Well, look at that. She's a natural. Tears pricked my eyes, but Clara caught my chin, tilting my face upward. No tears, Joanna. Smiles. Always smiles. Isn't that right? I forced my lips to curl, though the smile felt like breaking glass. Samantha giggled. Adorable.
And you know what?
I think you're right, Clara. This suits Joanna. She lingered on the name like it was a secret she now owned too. My chest tightened. Something irreversible had just happened. I wasn't John in their eyes anymore, I was Joanna. And both of them were determined to make sure I stayed that way. Samantha leaned closer, her tone half teasing, half serious. So, Clara, what's next for your little doll? Because if you ask me, she's ready for more than just standing around looking nervous. Clara's smile sharpened. Oh, don't worry. I've got plans. Tonight was just the beginning. The evening settled around us like a heavy curtain, but inside the house, tension buzzed like electricity. Clara had set the living room for what she called Joanna's final test, though by now, I suspected nothing about this situation was temporary. Samantha lounged on the sofa, sipping tea with that unsettlingly calm smile. So, Clara, she said lightly, how far do you intend to take this little game? Clara didn't answer immediately. She glanced at me, eyes calculating, then back to Samantha. It's not a game. This is discipline, transformation, and preparation. Joanna needs to live this life fully, and I intend to make sure she does. Permanently. My heart froze. Permanently. Again. The word cut deeper than any of the clothing, any of the makeup, any of the walks or lessons. Samantha's eyebrows lifted, intrigued. Permanently? You mean she's stuck? Clara's lips curved in a slow, victorious smile.
Exactly.
She'll never go back to John. Not the way she was before. Not while I am watching. I tried to protest, but my voice faltered. I felt the weight of the heels on my feet, the dress brushing my knees, the necklace against my collarbone. Every detail of this Joanna persona had been embedded in me over weeks. And now, with Samantha watching and Clara orchestrating, I realized escape was impossible. Clara stepped closer, her hand brushing mine, guiding me to the center of the room. Show her, Joanna, she said softly. Show her how much you've learned. Stand tall. Walk gracefully. Speak softly. I obeyed, each movement deliberate but shaky. Samantha's eyes followed me intently, cataloging every step. Good, Clara praised. Better. Keep going. The reality of my situation hit me, with the weight of iron chains. This wasn't punishment in isolation anymore. Both women were now architects of my new life. My old self, my identity as John, had been stripped away. Every glance, every compliment, every small correction reinforced that. Samantha finally clapped, lightly, teasing but approving. Well, Joanna, I must admit, you're doing remarkably well. For someone who clearly didn't want this, you're quite convincing. Convincing. The word pierced me again. I wasn't John anymore. Not in their eyes. Not in the way they demanded I act. Clara's hand rested gently on my shoulder. It's time to accept it fully. You've tried to resist. You've stumbled. You've cried. But that's over now. Joanna, you are mine and now you belong to this life. I swallowed hard, tears threatening to fall. My heart raced, trapped between fear, shame, and a strange, unavoidable compliance. I realized that whatever small hope I had clung to before resistance, escape, the idea that this punishment could end was gone. Clara had taken every possible step to make it permanent. Samantha leaned forward, voice soft but firm. Welcome to your new reality, Joanna. There's no going back now. And in that moment, I knew she was right. The heels, the dresses, the makeup, the name, they weren't temporary anymore. They were me. And both women had made sure that John, the person I had once been, was gone forever. The night had grown still, the house quiet except for the faint hum of the heater. I stood in the living room, heels clicking softly against the floor, clutching my purse like a lifeline. Clara and Samantha watched me, their expressions unreadable but sharp with satisfaction. You've done well tonight, Joanna, Clara said softly, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. But remember, this is just the beginning. There are more lessons to learn, more ways to perfect your new life. I swallowed hard. My lips trembled. I don't know if I can keep doing this, I admitted, voice barely above a whisper. Clara's smile didn't waver. Oh, you can. You will. And one day, you'll see that this life, this discipline, it suits you more than you ever realized. Samantha leaned forward, her eyes glinting with mischief. She's right, Joanna. You're already halfway there. And soon you won't even remember what it was like to be John. My chest tightened. Panic and despair wove together, a suffocating weight pressing down on me. I had been transformed, not just externally but internally. My old self was dissolving, replaced by someone they had carefully crafted, someone I couldn't fight anymore. Clara reached for my hand, squeezing it gently but firmly. Sleep tonight knowing that tomorrow, you'll continue. And each day after, Joanna will grow stronger, more confident, more complete. I shivered, torn between fear and helpless acceptance. The necklace glimmered against my collarbone, a cruel reminder that my punishment wasn't temporary. Every dress, every heel, every stroke of lipstick had bound me closer to this new identity. And then, Clara whispered something I couldn't ignore. Tomorrow, someone new will see you for the first time. Someone important. And they will expect you to be perfect. My stomach twisted. I didn't know who. I didn't know what. But I knew one thing. There would be no retreat, no escape, no returning to the life I once knew. Samantha's soft laugh followed me as I sank onto the couch. Sweet dreams, Joanna, she said. Because when you wake up, everything changes again. I closed my eyes, the weight of the heels, the dress, the lipstick, and the necklace pressing into my mind. I was Joanna now permanently. And no one, not even me, could undo it. The camera pans back in my imagination, showing Clara's victorious smile and Samantha's amused, approving gaze. I am trapped, transformed, and fully under their control. And then the screen fades to black. Did Joanna survive the next challenge? What will Clara's next test be? Comment below your thoughts, like if you want part 2, and don't forget to subscribe for the next shocking chapter of Joanna's story. You won't want to miss what happens next.